You gotta be tired. 24/7. I hope they're paying you time and a half, man. They gotta be. You're incredible. You got so much energy.
My bad. Sorry. Technical problem. And that is why Ronnie Rivkin is my favorite person in all of RC. He's always, I always really enjoy my interactions with him. So tonight we're watching the China episode, the 2017 IFMAR Worlds from Xiamen China. I think this is the first one that I had a dedication, and I'd also like to dedicate the broadcast to Dallas Mathieson. Dallas was the third president in IFMAR history, so I thought it was quite fitting. Ted Longshaw was the first president. He was from 79 to the mid-90s, I think 95, and then it was John Grant from, I think he was from Australia. Ted was from the United Kingdom, and John was from Australia. He served from 95 to 05, and then there was Mr. Mathieson from Sweden from 05 to 18. So Dallas was the second longest standing IFMAR president. And I didn't have a ton of interactions with him. He yelled at me a lot. That's the one thing I do remember. Every Worlds that I was at prior to this one, and including this one, he yelled at me. But it was interesting at the closing ceremonies of this event. He actually pulled me aside and says, "Cory, I love your videos. They are so good for the industry. They're so good for the hobby and the sport. I just love it." He said, "But I absolutely hate you on my tracks." And then he just walked away. So that's kind of a little nugget there on Mr. Dallas. So yeah, tonight we're doing the 2017 IFMAR Worlds. This is actually one of my favorite episodes. I really enjoyed the. I was actually really nervous about traveling to China because I'd never gone to China, and it's a communist country and all that fun stuff. So I was super nervous about it, but it was such an enjoyable trip. It really was. I had such a blast. The host hotel you'll see in the video was absolutely incredible. It was like a 5-star hotel. It's like somebody took the Mandalay Bay from Las Vegas and just duplicated it, but made it like $60 a night. So it was super cheap. I was actually talking to my girlfriend earlier, and I was telling her that this trip actually cost me less to go to than some of the regional events, like the Nitro Challenge, races in Canada. So it was really enjoyable, really cost effective, super awesome. It wasn't without its drama, so we'll get into that shortly. I think I'm just going, because this is a longer episode, I'm going to shut myself up here and kind of get right into the video. Oops. So here we have our dedication for Mr. Dallas. So yeah, like I said, it was he actually passed away shortly after the event. I don't think he did another. Oh boy. I don't think he did another IFMAR. I think this was his last one.
Our story starts a few years ago at a very familiar place.
So with the Worlds videos, I like having kind of a little 5 or 10 minute intro to it.
Gathered for the Reedy race at the world famous.
And so here we're talking about some of the other more famous 10 scale races.
Worlds, which were held in Japan that year.
Already a technical question. What frame rate do I record at? Well, I frame at 60 frames per second, or film at 60 frames per second, and I deliver at 30. That was to Barnestown RC. Yeah, and Masami's one of the most winningest IFMAR champions. That's one of his trophy pictures. It's just insane. I can't imagine having that many wins.
Everything about the sport has changed since then, including the track.
This is actually some B-roll that I filmed over at my buddy Ryan Barry's track, 110 Raceway here locally. So this starts back in 2015 when we were doing the preamble to the Japan Worlds, and that was going to be on carpet instead of dirt, which was a little bit contentious.
I think whatever they decide, we'll have to deal with it. Personally, I have never had run on carpet or Astro.
And for me, like I didn't go to the 15 Worlds, but I was super disappointed because Yatabe Arena is kind of like on everybody's bucket list, and to cover it in carpet or to run it in the touring car part of the track was a huge bummer. for me personally.
I think it's a really big fail on IFMAR's part. It's not. That's not off-road racing, in my opinion. Just because you throw some. If you just
So I wasn't the only one bummed out about carpet in 2015.
not off-road racing.
Yatabe is such an iconic place with such an iconic dirt track. So a lot of people are looking forward to that, including me. So yeah, it's pretty disappointing. I could understand doing a Worlds on AstroTurf in a place like England or someplace that always races on it, but the fact that we're going to a facility that has an amazing dirt track to just put AstroTurf on it is very disappointing.
So it makes no sense why you would go to a really, really cool off-road facility that most
Yeah, like the coolest off-road facility. It has such a storied history, Yatabe Arena. It's I was really bummed out. A lot of the drivers were bummed out. But regardless, they went and they raced on carpet.
One of the most famous racing facilities in the world. Like Ryan and Dustin said, it's an iconic facility, a bucket list facility. This would be the second Worlds hosted here. So much in the industry has changed since.
So this footage here, I remember actually reading about this race in car action. That's how long I've been in this sport for. And that is Matt Francis, who I believe is now a real estate agent. That's his buggy. And I was so nervous with this interview. Oh my goodness, I can't tell you how nervous I was. It's Masami. You know, it was just amazing.
In the two-wheel drive class, a three-way battle has ensued between incumbent champion Jared Tebow, Ryan Cavallari, and a very...
So Jared was the incumbent, like Mike just mentioned. He won in Chico, which was also high grip, but it was a different kind of high grip to the carpet from Japan. It was sugar. But nevertheless, it was Spencer and Bruno taking the wins in two-wheel and four-wheel respectively. So now fast forward to this year.
It's time for another 10-scale Worlds. This time, they will be held in southern China.
And like I said, I was really nervous about traveling to China, but it was amazing. I thoroughly enjoyed my entire trip. There were some school kids there on, I think it was the Saturday. It was the second last day, or yeah, it was on Saturday. So it was classes were coming, watching the races. It was kind of cool. I like the dude wearing the backwards hat. He's gonna go somewhere. That kid's gonna go somewhere. And this was the hotel here, the host hotel. I can't for the life of me remember the name, but it's just China Mandalay Bay. That's all I remember.
Most of the time, they kind of put us in hotels that are pretty easy to get to the track. Usually they have a shuttle and everything. I haven't really been to a Worlds. It's been difficult to get around, really.
So this was Kyle McBride. I can't remember if he had done a 10-scale Worlds prior to this. Somebody can maybe fact check that, but I was kind of following him around the hotel there the one day, and we were sort of checking out everything. They had a pool.
I thought we were in Vegas. God, we're on the other side of the planet.
Drivers from 24 countries.
So you can just kind of see how grand this hotel really was. Like, it was just amazing.
Many of which have traveled for 24 or more hours to get here.
And I actually ran into Leanne at the Vancouver International Airport and asked her a couple questions.
From home to the destination, the longest I've ever flown. And of course, I'm flying by myself. I think he's excited to get going with the world.
So I was asking her about Ty, if he was nervous or anything.
Whatever days straight.
Because at this point, he had not made an A-main two-wheel drive at a World Championships yet.
While Ty and Gord are anxious to get home, most of us are just anxious to
Here's
get to
my
China.
nod to Indiana Jones, a little travel sequence. We reused one of the shots from the Italy Worlds.
Each participating block have sent their best drivers. Most of them.
The facility was it was the coolest RC facility I've seen. It was amazing. And the thing I liked about it is everybody was pitted under the same area, so it was easy to find everyone and talk to everyone.
In fact, the 10-scale Worlds are even treated as two separate events.
Yeah, it's like Mike just said. What's interesting is the 10-scale Worlds. It's not just one Worlds. It's two. They basically run it as two back-to-back events. So I'll get a little bit more into that shortly. And one of the highlights for me was actually getting to work with Zeke, because I'd seen him around a couple of races and always wanted to get to know him a little better, and this was my opportunity.
Basically, posted online just to say, I accomplished a goal that I had in racing, is to just qualify for World Championships.
Zeke who was initially content to simply qualify for the Worlds, decided to take a different approach to attending the event. He set up a GoFundMe campaign.
Yeah, so this is actually pretty cool. Like he qualified for the Worlds, which is impressive to say the least. It's very competitive in the United States. For him to qualify was huge, but he that was kind of his goal, just to qualify. And so when he showed up, it was pretty cool, and he got there on crowdfunding, which is pretty awesome.
Essentially, it's my mom's womb was too small, and I got tangled when I was little, and it basically cut the blood circulation off to my arms and a couple of toes. It's funny, people wonder how I drive, or how I race an RC car, or how I ranch. Those are the easy things. It's the little things, like going to the grocery store and realizing the thing you need is on the top shelf.
While he is fiercely competitive, Zeke realizes
he's fast. He's super fast. Don't kid yourself. This guy can drive.
At these events. And so if you go with a mindset of having fun and enjoying yourself, then you can, regardless of where you're finishing.
While it's hard for people to understand this, even though these are considered toy cars to some, and there's a high degree of job satisfaction for 20 or so career drivers participating in these Worlds,
Sorry, I had to
they
fix
are
something
not
there.
here to have fun. There is a job at hand, and the stakes are about as high as they get. In the next 8 days, we will find out who the new 10-scale world champions will be.
One of my little things at the Worlds is I steal the Canada plaque. This one I think is from the Trenton Worlds, but I've got them from the Australia Worlds, as well as the China Worlds. The China one's at my buddy Ryan's track, and yeah, the rest I've got here. So that's a little tidbit for you. The Canada team was super small. Oh, there's Max. We'll get more into Max. Bruno just having a fight with somebody there. Gotta keep the volume a little low here because I'm not licensed for this song right now. One of the interesting things is in this opening montage, you're going to see some fail footage, and it's all fail footage. When I almost died there, it's all fail footage from the top drivers in the world. That just kind of showcases how hard this track really was. But it was a very well attended event, and I was super impressed with how competitive everybody was. It was really close, right from the start. And it was actually I think this track is mainly used for 8 scale, so the track was actually really big, and it was super fast. And because it was such high traction, the crashes were just spectacular. That's a Mayfield crash. Well, interesting story around this. This text I had translated by one of my direct reports at work. Her name is Shosha. She actually gave me the Mandarin text for what "Come Drive With Us," or at least the closest translation to "Come Drive With Us" was. So that was pretty cool. And here we see the top drivers in the world absolutely failing. And this really surprised me, and it just shows how hard this track really was. Here's Lee Martin going for a flight. Good job, Lee. Here's Jared. This is a never-ending tumble. I think I cut to it several times. That's like the third cut to it. And this is on the last day. This guy was having a blast. I think he cheated a little bit. He put lead in his tires, but he was doing backflips. So one of the questions is, was this the track that everyone hated? Yes, it was. So because this is back-to-back Worlds, one of the things that I did was I basically split it into, I sort of combined the 2-wheel drive and 4-wheel drive events. I'll get into that a little bit more later.
We got loaded up. We got a bunch of
But one of the coolest things was the shuttle service.
We got, I think, 3 buses taking everybody to the track. Jared Tebow was first in line. Jared Tebow is not on the first bus. So, I don't know exactly what happened there. but yeah, he's probably not happy.
Yeah, he was first in line. He was out like half hour before everybody else.
I did not get the win. Yeah, I know. I got out there pretty early, but it was a good fight. I could have made that first bus, but you got to pick your battles.
Thank you. Yeah, you have your phone? I got my phone. Got your phone?
Yeah, I'm not really sure what happened there. I don't know how he missed the first bus there, Justin. Bottom line is he just did. I think he went to put his bag somewhere, and then everybody just butted in front of him. It's just a little bit of humor.
Racers get off the shuttle bus.
Anyways, like I was saying, so this is days 1 and 5. So the schedule, I think, is it started on Sunday. So Sunday, Monday, Tuesday were two-wheel, and then Wednesday was a day off, and Thursday, Friday, Saturday was four-wheel. So this is day 1 and day 5.
Don't arrive until late in the afternoon.
Yeah, well, sorry, this is day 1 we're talking about here right now. So two-wheel drive check-in. And Leanne finally showed up. Like, Leanne and I were at YBR at the same time, but I literally got to China, I don't know, 12 or 13 hours before her because she went to Peking, and then she flew over to Shanghai, and then she came down to Xiamen. So she had a 38-hour travel experience to my 22-hour.
They're all kind of open-minded, and I think looking forward to the challenge, because it's going to be a challenge. I think the surface and everything like that they've never been on, no practice, no nothing. This is going to be a pretty, maybe the most neutral world championships anybody's ever been at. So it's definitely going to bring the.
And I actually still agree with that statement. It was very, very neutral.
Awesome. This is an awesome facility. Everything is top notch. I mean, I'm pretty sure there's more crew members than there's actual drivers. So you don't really get that many places you go. Everything's very organized. Everyone's very nice and awesome so far. The track looks amazing.
And that's what most people said until they drove it.
Sugar on it?
Some?
So yeah, he said there's some sugar on it. There wasn't just some. Like, so they somehow glued the track together to make the base kind of firm, and then they just sprayed molasses on it. And so this track, like I said earlier, was the size of an 8 scale track. So it was super high speed. And I kind of knew the Americans would probably come out of this having an advantage, given that, as you can see on the screen, they're kind of used to running on sugary type surfaces. And the Chico Worlds was also a very large track, and it was sugar. So there's a lot of parallels between Chico and China, but there's one major difference coming up, and we'll get to that very shortly. It's around tires. And I'm going to apologize to Sweep in advance because, yeah, I'm just going to apologize to Sweep in advance.
Pretty awesome. So I'm pretty honored to be able to call another one. It's going to be great.
So where are you going to stand? Such a big.
So the driver's stand was literally the width of the entire facility, so you could kind of pick your spot.
I like to see that you can see the chicane, kind of all the tight sections coming at you. So, and then as well, this off camber, kind of see it a little better. I mean, it doesn't really probably make much of a difference, but just really driver preference. Oh, really? That's what it is. Done on national.
With little else to do, drivers spend a lot of time walking the track.
Just walking on it now, it's super hard packed. Smells like sugar, so it's going to be pretty grippy. But it's a little bumpier than I think it looks on the pictures, but I mean, we're not going to really know until we get out there with the cars. So
I think it's good. I think it's going to be good the whole time. If it rains, it might put a little bit of a monkey wrench into.
Look at Spencer calling the rain.
That's why we're all great racers, and we know we should have experience on what we need to do to be running at the top, and it's gonna be fun.
Looks awesome.
Yes, Eric Ockwell. I am Canadian. I'm from Edmonton. Just answering one of the questions.
Front 10 scale on a track this big, but I think it should be really good. We're excited.
I would say this is like probably an ideal 10 scale size track, but nowadays it's pretty hard to make them this size, especially because the majority of stuff is indoor. But yeah, it looks really good.
Given the uncanny similarities to the Chico Worlds, would this be an advantage for Jared, who wasn't the fastest driver?
Yeah, Jared didn't break any land speed records in Chico, but he was just he just didn't crash. But like I mentioned, there was a big difference. In Chico, they were on an X2 or X3 Proline tire, and here we were on Sweep Racing Super Soft. And I got to tell you, these were the crappiest tires in the history of crappy tires. Like, they were so bad. They weren't even the same colors. You know, you would look at the bin where the drivers were selecting their tires from, and some were oxidized, some weren't. It was just a gong show. I honestly don't know how Sweep was selected for this track, because their tires were just way too soft. Now in two-wheel, it came down to picking the right front tire, but in four-wheel, you were kind of at the mercy of the consistency of the rubber. So yes, roasting tires a little bit, I suppose, but it's warranted. So here is telling us how many tires he was gluing. He did 17 sets for each buggy, so 34 sets.
Way too much for just for 1 week, you know.
The wear won't be the only issue with the selected spec tire.
Oh, and it was a one-run tire. Like, they literally lasted maybe 4 minutes. Like, the last minute, they were pretty sketchy. Yeah, and here, check out the foams. They can't even get their foams right. Like, that's ridiculous. So, and it's not like the racers could actually check the foams in the bin. And they just were given the tires that they grabbed. So they were trying their best to match them up, but it was just a gong show. So it was really disappointing.
Back to the hotel, and for many, some much needed sleep. Others.
John Lee, no, Sweep were not used at the Worlds in Trenton. It was Proline whole shot.
The next day will be a very important day.
And they were totally consistent, and it was the right tire for the track. But yeah, Kevin Toms, you're right. It's about the money. So obviously Sweep stepped up and did something for the facility or whatever. But yeah, it was just the worst tire they could have selected. Anybody would have been better. Yes. So this is my favorite segment. Max Lim was the, what would you call him? Kind of the site guy, or the race. He wasn't the race director because that was Scotty, but he was basically the facilities manager. He was a little crazy. So that's why I named this segment Mad Max, and Gord completely met his match in this guy. This guy was so ragey.
Guys, finish. You only take we only take your tires just only the rims. If you glue them, I will not take them. I will not take them. I will not take them.
This guy was just awesome.
We might die. I think he's a killer. I think he's gonna hang someone.
So I was standing beside some guy from Australia, or from the UK, and he's like, I'm convinced Max is gonna hang somebody before the weekend's up. But to be honest, as hard as I was on Max, he was exactly what this kind of race needs. He didn't take crap from no one. He was just pure comic relief for me. Yeah, Bobo Bear. He said, "You glue them, I will not check them."
Max is fortunate to have been surrounded by some of the best in the industry.
So yeah, Scotty was on the mic, and then Max was the facilities guy, and he was taking care of the track and stuff. And then the referee was the famous Masami Hirosaka.
Winningest driver ever.
He was the winningest driver in RC history. Essentially, if you're a hockey guy, the Wayne Gretzky of RC.
For 40 years. I started RC car racing when I was 7 years old, so now 47.
Masami makes good use of his social media following, which is the largest in the industry.
So I'm not sure how many channels or how many pages Masami's up to now. I don't know if he still does the personal pages, or if he's just done like famous person, like just a page. I don't know if he has like a personal profile or 7 personal profiles, or if he just has a page now. I can't remember. But at this time he had, what is it, like 5 personal pages and then 1 public figure page. No, Bobo Bear, the tires had to be glued, but I think Max had to check them first or something. Well, yeah, they had track workers, from people these girls were doing social media to pinning up the race results, and then they had hired turn marshals for practice, and these guys were really prepared for the worst.
So, yeah, these little cars can cause some damage at the end of the straight.
The full IFMAR crew is also on deck to ensure that everything is running smoothly.
So yeah, they had the F for president. I think Jeff from the U.S. was there. He was the ROAR president. And then obviously Dallas was here.
Many doubted that he would even make the trip, but Dallas was here and actively participating in every aspect of these worlds.
Yeah, for the opening ceremonies, it was kind of cool. They had the mayor of the city, and I think The governor of the province was there as well. They made a really big deal out of the opening ceremonies. It was pretty cool.
The track is finally open. Lower heats.
So yeah, this is day one,
The
two-wheel
pros
drive
watch
practice.
Intently surveying the track and seeing where the drivers in these early heats struggle.
So it was obviously they start with the lower heats first. So the pros were watching the lower heats out on the track first, and Zeke was one of the in one of the early heats out. So we got a good look at how his run was.
Miss it by like a car or two on the lip, and it's like you've never been through that section before.
Yeah, that I think it was 4 sets of doubles. It was super hard because it was also on a corner.
Absolutely obliterated.
Yeah, and the tires came off completely bald.
Finding a front tire that complements the rear tire.
So the challenge was to find a front tire that worked with the rears in two-wheel.
Properly articulate how difficult this track really is. Between the high grip, the super soft and inconsistent spec tires, coupled with the unparalleled speed of this layout, these worlds would be the most difficult tests that the drivers have faced in the last 10 years, possibly ever. While it's expected that the Joes crash quite frequently on layouts like these, what is not expected is to see the best of the best tumbling down the track.
Yeah, so that was Mayfield going for a little bit of a tumble there.
As with many,
I don't think there was a top driver that didn't crash. There's absolutely at least once per qualifier.
Outside of Europe, Bruno Coelho.
So the temperature this day was pretty warm. It was like 25, 26 Celsius, about 70-ish or so Fahrenheit. And the grip was pretty crazy. And I think Bruno was pretty much lights out in the first round of practice.
Was a true testament to his skill level.
No, I did not catch any feedback from Sweep. Kevin Thomas is asking if they complained or anything. No, they didn't. They might after this broadcast when I said their tires were the crappiest tires in the history of crappy tires, but they didn't after the documentary.
Regardless, Portugal's lone entry here in China had just shown the world that he was yet again a contender.
So yeah, Bruno, I mean, for me, I really didn't know much about Bruno. The first time I heard his name was after the Japan Worlds.
Controlled practice wouldn't go quite as well for him.
But he was fast. Like, he was super fast in two-wheel. And then I think the second seed in the first round was Mikhail Orlowski, running Schumacher at that point in time. And those two, I think, battled pretty much for...
In fact, the two-wheel drive champion was just crowned last night. Four-wheel drive practice played
so now
out
we're
similarly
skipping
to
ahead to
two-wheel.
day 5. So because it's back-to-back events, and I didn't want to have the two-wheel drive champion crowned at the 20-minute mark or the 30-minute mark and the four-wheel drive at the end, I basically just did a little bit of skipping. So now we're on day 5, which is the first day of four-wheel practice, which is weather-wise was basically exactly the same as two-wheel. The only difference is they were running the track the opposite direction. Yeah.
Mayfield, Tebow, Cavalieri still would not be announced as leaders.
And so, ironically, none of the American guys were up top the leaderboard. It was all European guys.
Jorn Neumann, who was a privateer at these Worlds, would be top seed.
You look at it with the top guys in the world, top 0.001% of our hobby, struggling to do 5 minutes. It's impossible. Nobody has done 5 minutes in all the practice runs. Nobody has done it without a mistake.
Except for Bruno, and Jorn had a really clean run in four-wheel.
They look at the track and they're like, oh wow, easy jumps and stuff like that. Until you've been there and you see all the little bumps and things like that. And when you watch the videos, you'll see it. You know, the jumps are just missing that top 1 inch to just give it enough lift to clear them.
Yeah, the track was so hard. In either direction, it didn't really matter.
Double in the back. The first meter has got a nice little kick to it. If you go outside and everything, it's so hard to clear it. So there's a sweet spot to all the jumps. You just got to hit them right. And even
What's up, Josh Boring? You still? Oh, you're joining from Facebook. Good. You're not in Facebook jail. Awesome. Welcome to the broadcast.
The track is, I mean, it's bumpy, but I mean, it's off-road. You cannot find one thing that is completely planned, and for this you drive on road, I think. So I think the track is very good and very difficult, so that's why it's a Worlds. So we are not here to have no jumps and the straight track. So I think it's pretty difficult, as one world has to. So yeah, I think it's very good.
This isn't really a race.
This is good.
I mean, the track isn't raceable, so you're not. I don't see how this is how you determine a world champion, but it is what it is. We are 100% racing the track. There's not a single moment where you're going to be able to actually race the next guy. So, but you know, I guess everybody says it's the same for everybody, but you know, I wish that IFMAR could figure it out and actually talk to us and see what we wanted to race on and where we wanted to go race, because this to me is not acceptable for a world championship. Most of us, everybody agrees, but nobody else is going to say it. So, but we got 7 more days. Just got to do the best I can. Everybody's just got to do the best they can. And
I'm not going to spoil this, but this interview is extremely ironic. But what Ryan was really complaining about, it came down to the tires. They were just struggling so badly, because one run your tires would be great, the next run they'd be completely different. No grip, too much grip, not enough grip. It was just unable. The drivers were unable to basically have a consistent back-to-back run with the sweep tires.
The next 2 days will be crucial ones. Qualifying begins.
So this was the end of days 1 and 5, which was the check-in day. Practice day. Check-in, practice, same. So now, that was 2 and 6. So much math. Anyway, so this is now qualifying, and this is days 3 and 7. So we start off on day 3, and it started to rain. So the title of this chapter is Everything Changes, because literally Bruno came out of practice top seed. Bruno, Mikhail, Orlowski, Jorn Neumann, they were all top seeds, having amazing runs. And then the rain came. And nobody knew what that track was going to do after moisture. Yeah, you're right, Connor Glover. Math does hurt. And I even watched this afternoon. I should have remembered all this stuff. So yes, days 3 and 5 now. No, there was no limit to how many tires each set of racers could have. So Eric Ockwell's asking if there's a limit. There was no limit. It basically, you bought them, you could buy as many as you wanted. I think the privateers were spending like $400 or $500 on tires after the event was over, so it was quite an expense for them. Oh no, a gyro wouldn't even work on a track like this. There's no point. Barnestown RC was asking no gyros.
I think it changes it up for everybody.
So Bruno, he looks really bummed out because he knew the track was going to change.
I haven't dealt with this stuff before. It'll be fun.
Who knows? The grip's probably going to be a lot less, but it might actually be the right tires for this condition because they're so soft. So, yeah, we're all on the same track, so it is what it is.
We need a nice rain day here. I want to spend another day here in China. Why not? What am I going to do at home? Mow my lawn and wash my car?
Yeah, it's a shame we got rain today, but it is lightening up.
So they did manage to cover the track. Well, they covered the track every night, so it's not like they knew that rain was going to come. They just did it as a precaution, and I mean it saved the track for the most part, but it was still wet.
Should they have a practice run? They scrapped the control practice today, but I'm a racer too, so I think the guys should at least get a couple laps on the track. A 2-minute stint or something, because the track is going to be so different today. So I don't know. That's all we can hope for, I guess, right? Hopefully the rain stops and everything. It's our only pause this week, and everything goes on. But I hope we get on track today.
One thing is certain: the two-wheel drive segment has just been rebooted.
Completely rebooted. So I was really curious to see what this would do to Bruno, to his setup. I mean, the X-Ray car at this time, it was largely a carpet car, so as long as there was a lot of grip, it was fine. Oh yeah, this is classic. So this is what caused the rain. It was apparently there was some kind of weather rockets that were fired. to make clouds.
China is using artillery to fight its drought. Weather officials fired rockets and shells filled with cloud-seeding chemicals into the sky. Chinese authorities hope to create a little bit of rain.
Irrigation systems are poor, so over the weekend, China brought out the big guns, literally rockets loaded with cloud-seeding chemicals. Fired those.
Somebody forgot to tell him we were trying to hold a toy car race.
Rain, but those clouds are thin and moving out of the drought-stricken area, so that's only going to be a short-term fix.
Fake news or not, the simple fact of the matter
Fake
is
news.
that the track is going to be very different today than that of the practice rounds.
So OMG, it's something or other. He said he digged the piano score. It's actually Numb by Linkin Park. It was just a piano version of it. It's pretty cool rendition.
The track will be dry. We shall see what happens after we uncover it. But safe to say, that's not going to happen within the next 2 hours. Then, of course, in my opinion,
Yes, those were big guns.
qualifying has to be run.
Very big guns that they fired those rockets into the sky with.
My best. The track is dry before we start the qualifying. And there will be a chance.
So they were Max actually did a pretty phenomenal job juggling the schedule, because when we all booked the trip, they had Sunday as a spare day, but Sunday's actually travel day. We just thought maybe it was a spare day, so I didn't actually fly out till the Monday, but we were told that no, Sunday was not a makeup day. So if they lost a day here, the four-wheel drive worlds were in some peril of sorts.
Jeopardy.
We have discussed to use Wednesday anyway, but we're not sure yet. Let's see. It will be very, very hard to squeeze in the event, total event, if we don't use Wednesday. So.
Just after 10 a.m., the tarps.
And this is actually pretty impressive. Like Masami was right there, like working on the track and helping remove the tarps. So here you can see the tarps stopped a lot of the flooding, but it did leave a lot of moisture. And yeah,
every single setup can be thrown out the window now.
Yeah, every setup can be thrown out the window because there is no makeup day.
Under the careful direction of Masami, the track crew.
So they tried blowing the track off. They basically tried everything. And I can't remember how delayed we were on this day, but it was at least a 4 hour delay.
Masami's out testing the track after the rain delay, and we'll see how it is. Oh, Scotty's got the radio now.
Yeah, so Scotty and Masami were the rain track testers. And he almost made that double section. Hey, Tyler Keel, what's shaking? Welcome to the broadcast. Just light it on fire. Yeah, that's what Jimmy Babcock tried at the shootout race the one year. Started his pipe on fire, but it didn't dry out the track.
One constant remains: the drivers are still racing the track more than each other.
So we found out really fast that most of the grip was gone.
World champion back, but much to his surprise, only to fourth spot. This meant that he wasn't the only one crashing.
I don't feel fast, but I made 3 mistakes.
So Bruno top seed crashed several times. I think he had 3 mistakes.
So when Scotty said I was third, I was kind of surprised. I was like, oh, it's possible I'm third.
Like Ronafalk, Bruno finished higher than he expected. He would take little comfort in a top 3 at this early stage.
So I mean, Bruno still managed a top 3, which is pretty good. Now I can't remember if Mayfield had hit the track yet. I guess we'll find out.
I changed a lot the car for this round to make more grip on the car. It's still not enough, so we need to work more around.
Ryan Cavalieri, who was somewhat unimpressive in the practice sessions, proved why he is a 3-time off-road world champion. He had TQ all but in the bag. Only losing.
So one of the observations I did make was in practice it was X-Ray having a big advantage, because even Tessman he wasn't I don't think he TQ'd any practice rounds. I forgot to check the results beforehand, but Bruno was lights out. when the track was dry, but when the track was wet, it's almost like it kind of went towards the Yokomo guys, because both Lee Martin and Cavalieri, and not both, but Lee Martin, Cavalieri, and Mayfield, they were all really strong in this first round.
On the edge, you don't really feel when your car will slide, when your car will spin, so it's really difficult to drive. But we are professionals, so.
As daylight slowly turns to dusk, the second round of qualifying begins. Kyle McBride, known more for his abilities with an 8-scale buggy, has proven that he belongs here at the Worlds. His run, not at all fast, was smooth and consistent, landing him in the 4th overall position, proving that he's heading in the right direction.
Yeah, so 4th for McBride was really good. I was pretty impressed that he made it all the way up there. But again, the AE team was really big. They had a lot of guys doing setups. A lot of the B team guys like Zeke were doing some testing for the pros. And so by the time the pros were up, they kind of knew exactly what setups to throw down. And their cars were pretty strong.
It's getting a little looser, and I seem to drive better when it's looser than an 8-scale guy.
At the Japan Worlds, Kyle failed to qualify into the AAA mains. This is not something he wants to repeat here in China.
I ended up I was in the B main for two-wheel drive, so it was my first time running on Astro, which was interesting to say the least, but it was fun as well. That was my first experience, but yeah, I want to make it in the main this time. You can't bump up in this style racing, so yeah, you're in the top 10 or you're not, so I'm going for it.
Another driver that struggled.
Yeah, so it's AAA mains, top 10 or not.
Seeding wasn't too bad. I just didn't do my best laps together. So yeah, that didn't give me the best seed, but I actually don't think it's been a bad thing. The top heat's been fast and frantic, and with it, it's brought a lot of mistakes. So I'm actually not minding being.
I know Connor, Cav, was he running Associated? You might be right. He might have been running Associated still. Yeah, I think it was just Lee Martin and Mayfield that were the Yokomo big guns. You could be right.
Also having issues this round is Bruno.
So this is round 2. It's dusk, and it actually cooled off quite a bit, and the track was still obviously fairly moist. And so Bruno and Cavalieri, they sort of got into it. But Bruno was really struggling to begin with. So he unlike Mayfield, cannot drive angry, as is displayed there. Yeah, he and Cavalieri, I can't remember if they got into a social media war afterwards or what the deal was, but they were not buddies.
As a contender,
Cavalieri's starting to worry me. He was kind of the sleeper in seating, but he's put in a first and a second, so he's going to be tough to beat, I think, just because of experience and how he just drives around the track without really worrying about anything until it matters. Just kind of puts laps in, and then on this track, that's what you need to do.
We made some changes. I think it was better, but it still looks like it's pretty sketchy out there.
So the Tasmans were on the outside looking in pretty much throughout qualifying. They were their chances of making an A main were fading pretty quickly. So the question came up if sauce was allowed. No, sauce was not allowed at this event.
High grip, but it's a lot harder now that it's low grip.
Yeah, Gord just said the track was hard when it was high grip, but it's even harder with no grip or low grip.
The fast European drivers like Orlowski and Coelho, who are not accustomed to so few lights, struggled.
So here's another interesting tidbit. Mike just mentioned that some of the European guys like Orlowski and Coelho, they don't run in the dark. They hardly ever run in the dark, if at all. There's a lot of indoor tracks. They almost never run under the lights. So I think in this round we saw a lot of the American drivers or a lot of the Nitro drivers step up.
At this stage.
Here I think we're following McBride again. Well, Connor, I think the sauce would have helped on the post-rain track, but not on the dry track, because the dry track was crazy grip.
Bank it in the A. Fairly confident. Car's looking good.
So actually, McBride and Tessman were in a really heated battle for that 10th spot pretty much the whole both qualifying days. They're sort of battling for that spot pretty aggressively. And I think it came down to the very last run.
Driving nervous, so I think there's more pace there, and man, it would have been a 1 if I would have had a good last lap, but
Ty, who desperately needs a top 10 run, would fall short.
My car was really good in the warm-up, so I was excited. I ran around. I kind of saw I was gaining a little bit the first few laps, but then I hit a pipe, just stupid. I don't know, it's still hard to see. The white body helped, but it's still difficult out there. And then I was going around again. I think I was in fourth or third or something like that, and then just ran into traffic, which pretty much ended it there. And then I made some bubbles after that. But
It's just discouraging, but at least we know the car is decent, so tomorrow's another day.
So this would have been their first Worlds on the X-Ray platform as well. So they were still learning the car quite a bit too, which didn't help the Tessman team too much. But the X-Ray team did have a pretty big following. Like they had a lot of top drivers there. So at least they had a lot of people to bounce ideas off of, but it really didn't help them too much in the wet. Now, what's interesting is Mayfield was just throwing brass on his car. He just kept on making it heavier. I think he was up to like 150 grams of brass. And I asked Gord if he was going to try the same, and he said, no, you don't see F1 cars adding weight. You know, Formula One, they try to make their cars as light as possible because the lighter car does everything better. But I don't know if that translates. I don't know if that logic translated to this small scale. Because Ryan's car was so heavy that jump he just did there as a single, he didn't have enough power to make it over that jump. That's how heavy his car was.
There's like super loose patches, and then there's like super grippy patches, and it's just it's unreal. It's unreal to describe.
it kept me in the game.
While Ryan and Lee have secured their spots in the finals, and Tebow feels he's back in the game, the pressure will be on McBride and Tessman. Odds are that only one of them will make it into the two-wheel drive final.
So anyways, like I was saying, Gord was really fighting adding brass, but it seemed that was kind of the thing to do. So now I think we're on day 5, which is four-wheel drive day. And keep in mind, this is after the two-wheel drive champion was crowned. So I did it this way in the edit to keep it a little bit more exciting, but it's not sequential.
Even though the track was groomed, the jumps were fixed, and the holes were patched, the added speed of the four-wheel drive buggies really showcased
that is
how
like the
bumpy
most epic fail ever.
Really was.
I just love that one.
I think it's going to be easier in some sections, but more difficult, much more difficult in others. Especially the jump section is going to be, I really don't know what's going to happen yet. I'm going to watch the heats up to mine and see. Put my worst wing on and then try it out.
Ty is referring to the direction change that occurred yesterday.
So they, on the Wednesday, on the day off, they basically they reversed the direction, fixed all the bumps, and reapplied the molasses.
We do a lot of fired up around here.
I think the jumps might be even a little bit harder, but we don't know yet until we go round. So we'll find out soon.
Yeah, I'll see it pretty tough to jump the second one, but yeah, it's forward drive, you have more power, so I guess we'll have to wait and see what the car does when they get out there. But
some of the center section looks like it's actually going to be more fun, so.
Basically the same difficulties we had before, they're just going to be the same difficulties, only going the opposite direction with a couple new ones that maybe people don't anticipate.
Things are unknown now. I mean, the double, how much lift does it have? I mean, we're going to put 2 Marshalls over in the gap there between the double-double because that's going to be the danger spot, I think.
Qualifying here starts out quite differently than two-wheel drive in that...
So, again, qualifying for four-wheel drive now. This is a couple days after the two-wheel drive champ was crowned. They reset the track, running it backwards. And looking forward to seeing how fast these four-wheel buggies go on this crazy, huge, insane grip track.
And resealed. The question is, how would the track be, and would the list of TQs be as diverse as it was in two-wheel drive? This first round would give a few drivers who struggled in the two-wheel drive segment a chance to shine.
2, 3.
Yeah, so what's interesting, I think Spencer Rifkin also struggled in two-wheel. I don't know if he made the main in two-wheel. So it's quite a contrast to be the two-wheel champ in 2015 and not even make the show in 2017.
Spencer, who is all but invisible in two-wheel drive, was currently leading Ty Tessman. Dustin Evans, who struggled immensely in two-wheel drive, was battling near the top.
Yeah, the grass is, one of the questions came, when there was a comment here said the grass is looking a bit rough on the infield. Well, it's probably all that molasses is probably not great for growing grass. Just saying.
But Tessman gets caught trying to race Rivkin instead of racing the track.
Yeah, I mean, geez, I really didn't have that much confidence going in because we've been changing the car almost every run, but now I'm just going to leave it and just focus on some driving.
So unlike two-wheel, Ty actually looked really sporty in four-wheel. It was him, Rivkin, and Mayfield and Coelho kind of looked to be the guys to beat really early on in practice.
And then tried to use power and to preload the suspension to make it through.
But again, the tires were super inconsistent in four-wheel drive as well. It was actually worse because you were at the mercy of sweep front and rear. In two-wheel drive, you could kind of offset the crappy rear tires with an okay front tire, like a smoother front tire in the corners kind of tamed the rear a little bit on the cars. But in four-wheel, it was like sweep front and rear.
First run, even though it's just a fifth, it's a safe run, I think.
Lee Martin, who was overnight TQ in the two-wheel drive event, isn't faring quite as well here in four-wheel drive. He's barely holding on to an A-main spot.
Like the car feels a bit numb and then it starts sliding and you don't really know where the biting point is. Yep, keep trying.
While Lee is struggling, his teammate Ryan Mayfield is currently leading round 2. That was until his final lap.
It got a little cloudy at the end. I just couldn't see the jump faces for some reason. They're like a weird polarized cheap sunglass, so I don't know. That probably wasn't it, but I like making excuses.
So Ryan Mayfield, he gets called out for making excuses a lot, but I really like Ryan. I can relate.
I'm cool with a couple good runs, a couple twos to start it. That was better than how I started two-wheel drive, so at least I have some comfort kind of moving into the next few rounds, which is nice.
Defending champion Bruno Coelho, who was as high as second place in this round, has settled into a fifth place groove. Bruno has tucked in behind his teammate in hopes of the faster Tessman upping his pace.
Started in front of me, he made a mistake and got behind me, which is, for some reason, we've been together a lot on the track this weekend.
This is actually a really good sequence here. It shows a lot of respect between Bruno, because Bruno really could have run right through Ty in that section there where Ty got a little loose, but it really shows that they worked together pretty good on the track as a team.
My car was easy to drive, I think as easy as you can expect it to be on this track.
Even though his car was easy to drive, Tessman was also very fast. His 24.3 second lap was only bested by one other driver, his former teammate, David Ronefalk. But David lacked the consistency this round to take over the top spot. Tessman would earn his very first TQ.
Yeah, so Tessman was TQ here in four-wheel for this round.
Pretty much. Nothing changed to make the tires wear out less.
So what was interesting is Ty had very little tire wear this round. And in some of the practice rounds on the dry track, the tires came off bald. So again, it just showed sometimes you got a good set of tires, sometimes you got a bad set.
You know you're doing good when Red RC comes to interview you. So that's been, I had that both runs today, so feeling pretty confident for the last one.
Red RC is the only media outlet here?
Well, there's some goofball with a camera walking around, but other than that, yeah.
Gordon Ty
making fun of me a little bit. So Eric Ockwell asked, did TLR have a good result at this Worlds? No, they did not. They had Renault, Savoia, and Dakota were their two big drivers, and I think Dakota made the show, but I don't think he did anything in the show.
Started out fine in four-wheel, but he has dropped off here in the second round.
Because I don't think Evans had switched to. I don't think Evans was running low C at that point. I could be wrong. I can't remember what Evans is running. I'm sure he's running associated, but I could be wrong.
Heated battle shaping up for the final A-main spot. This time, 4 drivers were involved. Evans, Tebow, McBride, and Martin were all within 2 points of each other. Kyle puts in 2 top 10s in the first 2 rounds, and with 17 points, he leads out of the other 3 drivers.
So that's the battle for the final spot in four-wheel.
I probably just want to find a little more A little more speed for the corners, some of the slow sections like the chicane. But yeah, I'm happy to get the top 10.
But with 4 rounds remaining, absolutely anything could still happen. Back in the E group, Zeke, hoping for a better qualifying day than...
So here we're back with Zeke, who is in the E main, which is just below mid pack, which is really, really good.
Which can be a bit easier to fix.
A lot of time on the right side, up on the tabletop. I'm either going too fast and kind of jumping and then like getting up on 2.
So Zeke's perspectives are actually really cool because I mean he's not a pro driver. He's just kind of a Joe. So it's always interesting getting his perspectives on what the hard parts are on the track. Because I never got to drive the track. I kind of wanted to, but at the same time I just would have embarrassed myself. So I always really enjoyed talking to Zeke about how the track was and how hard it was.
The speed and feel like the car to be definitely to run up top 5 and stuff like that. I just got to clean up my driving. I mean, it's hard. Everyone.
Oh, there we go. There's my answer. So Dustin Evans was still running Associated at this point. So no, Losi basically had Dakota, and that was kind of it. Again, that was one of the questions somebody was asked how Losi did. Not super awesome, unfortunately.
It's been the easiest it's been to drive all event, and then I drove it probably to its maximum when it was good, and then the tires, they do fall off at the end, and it just kind of caught me off guard, and I just pushed a little too hard.
Behind Ty on the track, but ahead on the clock, was the battle for the lead. Mayfield would crash out, handing Ronafalk the top spot. His much improved consistency seems to have locked him in for...
So I think Ronafalk was on a prototype 4-wheel drive of sorts. I don't think they let me photograph it too much. I'm trying to remember if it was this Worlds or if it was in Trenton. I can't remember. They had a prototype 2-wheel drive as well, which again they didn't let me photograph, which was kind of odd because when Ty ran HB, they let me photograph the Frankenbuggy as much as I wanted, but with this one they wouldn't let me photograph it. Yeah, you're right. Justin just said that Dustin still runs AE. He switched to AE from Losi a few years ago.
Different TQ in as many rounds, and it will be Bruno's first of the event.
Right. So Justin corrected me. It was just the 2-wheel drive as a prototype. Their 4-wheel was just the D418. I think they were running different shocks on it though. I think they were running the Associated shocks on both cars, but I could be wrong.
Finished outside the top 5. This gives him some breathing room to push a bit harder in the last round of the day.
So Tessman was a lot more consistent in 4-wheel. He was sitting in, I think, either 4th or 5th. As far as the top spot, I can't remember who was TQ. I should be paying attention instead of talking, huh? I'm going to check my phone.
All I know is, what I can know is today we're running 4 qualifiers. That's it. That's all I know.
So apparently there's a little bit more rain in the forecast.
I'm terribly worried for Saturday that tomorrow is going to be rain.
As round 4 starts, a sense of urgency grips the top drivers.
Yeah, remember that. I'm not sure if they were going to fire more missiles with their big guns. Or if it was just actual rain coming, but there was some rain in the forecast. So for this 4th round, it was go time for a lot of people.
Ryan Mayfield. Just 2 points behind him are both Tessman and Ronafalk.
Yeah, I was catching him. I could see on the track where he was approximately.
So it was Mayfield, TQ, and then Ronafalk and Tessman were just 2 points behind him. And I think Ty was trying to chase Mayfield down in this last round.
I got excited and then flipped my car, but I just had a little bit of a...
And he had some bad marshal luck, and I think he qualified 3rd with Ronafalk in 2nd.
The lead until Ryan broke an arm.
And then Ryan had a DNF.
David Ronafalk would inherit the race lead.
And then Ronafalk took over the lead.
He would close in quickly on Cav, but with no call from race control, Ryan would hold his line.
Yeah, so Cav was behind Ronafalk on the clock, but ahead of him on the track. And he had that mistake and then collected Ronafalk, and then there was a bunch of social media drama.
Still half a lap to go. Unfortunately, that wasn't the case, and he made a mistake on his own. I got tangled in his rear wing.
You know what? It's what it is. I mean, I'm trying to get around the track too, so.
Drama.
You know, I made 2 mistakes in the same lap. Stuff a pipe that I haven't really, hit. So it was going to be his final lap. I had 1 more lap. So I really wasn't concerned that I was going to really collect him. I just made a mistake.
As fate would have it.
And I think the two of them had some kind of a war through Red RC online. I can't remember if I talked about that in the edit. But yeah, Ronefalk was really upset because I think that cost him a TQ.
Everything's going good. Hopefully it doesn't rain. If it does, we're prepared.
So again, they cover the track every night. It wasn't just because there was rain in the forecast. They just covered it every night.
Through the pits. With no spare day built into the four-wheel drive event of the IFMAR Worlds, we cannot help but wonder if Ty might have just won his second IFMAR title.
Yeah, so with that, with Ronefalk being collected by Cavalieri, Ty TQ'd that last round, and he was the overall TQ in 4-wheel. And if it would have been rained out, he would have been world champ in 4-wheel.
All the cans, chickens, fish, tuna, some other fish, some seaweed soup.
Sorry, what? I was just trying to steer clear of anything that looks suspicious, but honestly, it all looks suspicious.
I think next time I need to bring the tuna from home.
We're talking about the food in China.
That's good news. Food's not been too bad. We've had some pretty good food in the hotel. We had chicken teriyaki, that was nice. Everyone liked that, so that was good. During the day, it's been a little bit of a struggle. More for snacks. Like if I'm a little bit hungry and I want to go and get a snack, I really have no options. So yeah, I just sit here being hungry. The Japanese guy brought some fruit with them, which is probably a clever idea. Maybe I can eat him, actually. Not in that way.
I'd like to be a little bit more adventurous, but can't really afford to be sick. So yeah, I keep it pretty straightforward.
I'm okay with it. I brought a lot of stuff myself back from home, and I'm good with it. Teriyaki chicken last night at the hotel was right on point. I liked it too.
Yeah, Ronnie, he loved the food there. But the racers, not a lot of them were really starved by 4-wheel drive day 7. Most of them were super hungry.
We are English-speaking people in a Chinese country. I don't think it's their responsibility to learn our language. We should be learning to function in their society. And I think they're trying hard, and that's about all they can do. I mean, it's tough sometimes, but there's a big communication gap. But we have to remember we're the visitors, not them.
At our hotel, it's good. It just takes a little bit longer than I'd like.
See, I didn't actually mind the food that much.
On day 4, the final day of 2-wheel drive, by the time the last day of 4-wheel drive came around, everyone was starting to get really hungry.
Yep, a lot of them were.
Each morning, participants filled up, many eating a larger breakfast than normal, in hopes that the meal would last well into the day. Another shuttle trip to the track for the last day.
So I actually made Leanne pass out. I think it was the first night I joined them for dinner at the hotel, and I wanted some wonton soup, and it came with prawns. Well, I forgot to ask that the prawns be shelled. So they looked like little critters, and I was having little prawn battles. You know, they were like fighting each other, having an epic duel for who was going to help me with the soup, and Leanne almost passed out. So that's my funny story. This is an interesting piece of information here. Ty is actually going to show us some of the inconsistencies with the track. So you can see that smooth spot there, that's really slimy. And then the darker spots are grippy. So what would happen is your car would slide over the slick spot, and then it would just grab on the grippy spot, and then it would just flip or traction roll or grip roll, whatever you want to call it. So not only were the tires inconsistent, the track post rain was extremely inconsistent as well.
In the first round, so we'll try to deal with it as best we can, but it's just, this track is just so tough, and then stuff like this makes it even tougher.
To add an extra layer of complexity to an already trying world championship, the track wasn't behaving like a typical sugared track.
Well, it was because the rain kind of made the molasses inconsistent.
It's not good. It's not generating grip. We kind of had everything work towards high grip, and then we kind of got lost.
Again, all they had to do was fill it full of brass. You know, I know it's a Band-Aid, but that's what the Yokomo guys are doing. That's what some of the Associate guys are doing. Sorry, not sorry. So Aero Dogs is asking how long the shuttle ride was. It was like half hour from the host hotel to the track. And they had 3 or 4 shuttles, 2 in the morning, 1 at lunch, and then 2 or 3 in the evening. So it was really convenient. I really loved the shuttle system. It was awesome.
You know, second on the grid. I would have took that before.
So this, I think, is the last round of qualifying, and Lee is now in P2, I think. And I think that's where he would end up, second qualifier overall.
To be honest, you know, just like middle of the A. To make A final is, you know, your first step. Done that, that's cool. Another A final, wicked. To be, you know, top 3 on the grid, awesome. So yeah. Just gotta go out there and try and do my thing.
It would be Mayfield earning the overall TQ and starting on pole for the AAA mains starting later on today.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't won a Worlds at all, so I mean, anytime luckily I've claimed to all my World Championships, I've been competitive, and you know, I've started on a pole a couple times and it hasn't ever worked out. And
You found Waldo, I know, right? He was at these Worlds. I think these were one of the last ones. So Tyler Keel is talking about the infamous Aaron Waldron, who was running a site called Dead RC, and he was basically making fun of absolutely everybody in the industry. And he ended up getting fired from Live RC and ostracized and punted out of the entire industry. It was shortly after these Worlds. I think it was like, it was before Silver State, I know that for sure. And Silver State was May of 18, and this is November of 17.
Just messed up one time.
I did name He Who Shall Not Be Named. I don't care.
You know, dropped me back some, but a 6 is better than my 16. So, yeah, we're moving in the right direction. Track's changing still. I think that was the loosest it's probably been. So, yeah, ready to get the last round and hopefully have a good one so I can secure a spot.
Yeah, so Tebow was lower A. I don't think he was ever really at risk of not making the show per se. It really came down to McBride and Tessman for that last spot.
The 10-driver grid will be decided.
Eric, it was like a satirical news site. He's asking about Dead RC. It was a satirical news site. It was just not cool what he was doing. He was making fun of a lot of people's, you know, appearance and just, you know, acne problems and things like that. He was just being a douchebag. So that's all I'm going to say about that. Anyways, here we're picking up Tessman. This is the last round of qualifying, and he really needed a good showing. And as you can see from that tumble, it's not looking super good for him. So really the battle again, here we got McBride. It comes down to him and Tessman, and McBride was also having a pretty rough run. So it just, neither of them wanted that final spot. And I think Evans was also kind of stuck in that grouping, and he was crashing. It was just such a tough track. Oh my goodness, yes, the icebreaker is coming. Be patient.
Both drivers with 25 points. It comes down to tie-breaking IFMAR is whoever has the higher point result. So your 10th and final qualifier making his bid for the world title from Australia, Kyle McBride.
So in the ultimate case of irony, Ty lost the tiebreaker with McBride. So McBride would go to the show, and Ty, for his second Worlds or third Worlds in a row, would not make the A final in two-wheel drive buggy. I don't think Evans made it either, and neither did Rivkin. So there's a lot of big-name drivers that didn't make it.
So many talented drivers were completely eliminated from title contention.
I don't know where I'm at, but it's somewhere in the B. It's disappointing, but at least for some reason my car has lost all of its forward drive and rear grip. We don't really know what happened. I think we just got lost in the setup, kind of just steered away when we had high grip, and then it just fell away slowly and slowly. It sucks, but we'll try to make some changes and go back to what we started with for loose grip.
So for their B main, I think what they did was they put a US track setup on the car instead of a carpet setup. And it worked out pretty well. We'll get into Ty's B main shortly.
Get up on the podium or something and have a good car yesterday, make some mistakes, cost me a lot of points, and then today I just really struggled and the track changed some and I just wasn't comfortable and drove bad and didn't make the mains.
While disappointment was evident,
Grader, I actually think Grader said that it seems like the track was hastily prepared for the event. I don't agree with that at all. I think that the track was actually really good. I think it was very well prepared for the event. The tire selection was the thing that wasn't awesome.
like two-wheel drive, 2 final rounds of qualifying will be run on this morning, the 8th day of these Worlds. At least.
Yeah, exactly, Connor. The rain is what really caused issues. And ironically, more rain came. Here now we're on 4-wheel drive qualifying for rounds 5 and 6. And it was like a freak storm. It just came out of nowhere. And you see like all the drivers are just, they're running
More rain arrives halfway
to save the event. And I mean, Ty was hoping to be rained out because he'd be world champ if he got rained out.
Final grid is set.
But it was a good downpour, as you can see from the puddles. Ellie Wilder, no, I don't think Ty's glory days are over. Most athletes peak at 27, and that's how old he is now. So I don't think his glory days are over. He's won quite a few U.S. races. He's always competitive. So he was third in Australia just a couple of years ago.
Losing end here in the 4-wheel drive event.
So here we got to look at the 4-wheel drive mains.
Feeling pretty angry because I just missed out in the final because they dropped that last round. So pretty shitty, kind of disappointed, but I guess that's what happens when it rains and you're gonna have better qualifiers early. So it is what it is.
So here's the 2-wheel drive B main. Sorry, we are doing a little bit of jumping back and forth here, but again, it's just for dramatic purposes because this was like 3 days before 4-wheel drive. But this is the B main, and again, Ty, he found the setup in the B main. I think with his B main time, he would have been in the top 4 in 2-wheel. He wasn't battling for the. He wouldn't have. His time wouldn't have competed with the winners. Final result, but it was way more competitive than he was the entire week in 2-wheel. So whatever setup he put on his car for this round is what he should have done when the rain came, or just filled it full of brass like what Mayfield and Lee Martin did.
I don't know. We got to start making more risky moves earlier. I think we got to be not trying to. Basically, we're just too safe this time. We didn't want to change too much, and we're chicken, I guess, to change the right things. But this happened at Chico too, so I hope we learned our lesson this time.
So a couple questions. Aaron's asking me what tires I'm going to run. I have a hobby store, so whatever I can get is what I run. So I'll be running J Concepts, aka and Hot Race, whatever works best on our local track.
Lee Martin would take over top spot in the opening seconds, and he would lead the entire race.
So I got screwed by the Q5 cancellation.
So this is the 4-wheel drive B main.
In that one. Had 3 top 10s, but just the scores weren't good enough. And yeah, I needed that Q5. My car was actually the best it felt all week, which I think I proved by just even the practice final and the final. My car was really good. Ryan's was really good. We worked hard on the setup, and I think we really got there in the end. And good into 4-wheel drive didn't really gel to the track like I did with 2-wheel. And
oh yeah, so Justin's right. Justin's saying that Ty's practicing for DNC. He is. Ty's tire program is pretty good right now. He's got the hot race tires, and they work really good on those California tracks. So it's going to be a really exciting DNC for everybody that's going there. Yeah.
The 6th spot.
Jared and I have worked together for 9 years.
Oh, and what's interesting here is Jared was actually contemplating his retirement at this race.
as far as what his, thoughts were past 2018, he's mentioned the thought of maybe retiring, something like that. So I kind of had to keep that in the back of my mind, like, if he's going to retire at the end of next.
So fortunately, Jared didn't retire, and he's actually really had a late resurgence. I mean, I believe he's 31 or 32, so he's definitely past his prime as far as RC goes. Along with, but Mayfield's in the same boat, Lutz is in the same boat, Cavalier. They're all getting up there in the years. But Jared still's plugging away, and he's still super competitive.
But still more than halfway up the grid, Zeke would qualify for both the 2 and 4-wheel drive.
So here we're back to Zeke. And I think he was in the D main for both 2-wheel and 4-wheel, so he was above half pack or mid pack, so that was really good.
Starting to lose drive or something, but it definitely got louder. Maybe I chunked a spur here or something, but either way, it was fun, and hopefully I was happy it didn't rain any harder than what it did, because it gets really slick out there.
With Tessman failing to qualify for the 2-wheel drive final, he helps prep Bruno's buggy.
So they actually wanted to put the US setup that they found in the B main on Bruno's car, and Bruno tried both cars, and he opted to go with his more traditional carpet setup for the AAA mains. And I actually think that was actually a poor decision on Bruno's part, because Ty's car in the B main was incredible. Like it had lots of grip, wasn't catchy. I really think that Bruno would have had a much better result had he listened to Gord.
I wish I could be there also to play, but it's going to be tight. I have no idea.
So here I asked who the predicted winner is.
It's a long time on this grueling track.
I think it looks like about 5 guys that are right there at the top. That it's a toss-up. Anything could happen on this layout, so we'll see.
Ronifel's looking fast.
It's going to be Ronifelk. I think he's going to do it. I've got a feeling.
Ronifelk, Tessman, Bruno, Mayfield. I don't know, number 5. There's a wild card in there somewhere.
In both mains, could the wild cards be the drivers that snuck into the show? Or would the top qualifiers lead from tone to tone?
So here we did mix 2-wheel and 4-wheel, the AAAs of each. Again, for dramatic purposes, they are separated by a few days.
Unlike nitro races,
and we start out with 4-wheel.
Would be 60 minutes long. Here in China, the best 2 out of 3 5-minute races would decide the winner. The tension was building. Well, for the most part.
Yeah, boys and their toys. They always like to have a little bit of fun.
The drivers roll out and do a single warm-up lap before they are staged. While Mayfield will start from the front in 2-wheel drive, he starts 4th in 4-wheel drive buggy. Tessman will start from the front with his former teammate, Ronifelk, behind him.
Sorry, just getting caught up in the soundtrack. I just love Hans Zimmer's music. It's just amazing.
Both A1 starts are thrilling. The racing is high-paced right from the start. In 4-wheel drive, Tessman and Ronifelk have separated themselves from the pack slightly. In 2-wheel drive, Mayfield was putting on a clinic. Contrary to what Scotty said would happen, Ryan was checking out. But could he hold this massive lead? Or would the antagonistic nature of the track, or even the weather, factor into this story? After a few small errors, Tessman's lead has vanished.
So there was a crazy wind that came up in 4-wheel. Like, I mean, it was insane. And it actually pushed Tessman's buggy over. I truly think that Tessman had the car to beat in 4-wheel, but that wind just sent him for a loop. And he once he got behind Ryan in 4-wheel, he was driving nervous. And so now we're over in the 2-wheel A1. And basically Mayfield's gone. Like, he's 5-6 seconds ahead of Martin, and Martin's in P2, and then Cab is in P3.
Only moments later, Mayfield was upside down in the doubles. Would there be enough time for Lee to catch him? Ryan would narrowly hang on to claim the A1 victory.
So there it is. Ryan, A1 victor, marginally over Lee Martin. And then back over in four-wheel where we've got Mayfield out front, just barely in front of Tessman. But again, the wind is just ruining Ty's car. So I don't know if he just had too aggressive a wing or if he just wasn't compensating, because I was standing on the track and filming when that first wind gust came, and I had to use the cheater fence to stop from falling onto the berm in front of me. That's how aggressive the wind was. So as soon as I felt that wind, I was like, oh crap, here we go, Tessman's gonna crash. And sure enough, he did. And then Mayfield just passed him, and that was it. It was over for Tessman after that. And I think he did end up trimming his wing, but I'm not sure if it was just the wing or if he just wasn't compensating. I'm not really sure. But anyways, A1 in two-wheel and four-wheel went to Mayfield.
Track's losing traction, kind of going up to the jumps. It's like getting polished or something. So, yeah, lucky to have that was really nice to get that done. See what happens next one.
2 mains still need to be run, and none of the competitors have been eliminated yet.
My car was good. Just drove around trying not to crash, trying to push too hard, and then.
Well, no, Grader says he needed brass in four-wheel. No, it was just in two-wheel that the guys were putting in brass. In four-wheel, they weren't. It's just the wind came up, and I don't think he knew how aggressive it was.
Given that the wind looks like it's here to stay, Ty preps a new low downforce wing.
There you go, low downforce wing.
I trimmed down the wicker on the back, probably 6 or 7 millimeters, taking it off. Just try to cut through the wind a little better, try to catch as little of the wind as possible. Hopefully it's better, and hopefully it doesn't change the rest of the track for me.
So here's A2.
Things are not looking good for Ty.
We're starting out with two-wheel drive.
Falk makes a statement early,
or is it four-wheel drive?
The lead. The question is, can
nope, this is four-wheel drive.
Then Ty can chase.
So Ronefalk stepped out pretty quickly,
The opportunity was squandered.
and then he made a little bit of a boo-boo, and so did Tessman, unfortunately. And now it's kind of a three-way battle for the lead in A2 of four-wheel drive.
Order remain unchanged for the final 2 minutes. In desperate need of collecting more points than Ryan, Ty tries a desperate move. He just can't quite stick the landing. While still mathematically possible, this puts Ty in a terrible spot from a points perspective. He's not the only one disappointed in how things have played out in four-wheel drive.
Yeah, for me, I think it was very disappointing and unfair world for me. I worked a lot for these worlds, and nothing come as I expect,
With nearly double the points accumulated in this round alone than any of the top 3 have total, there would be no chance for incumbent champion Bruno Coelho to repeat. Dustin Evans has also not moved up in the field.
And to come here and be pretty average and never feel comfortable is pretty disappointing.
All the momentum appeared to be going in Ronefalk's direction. He was only 1 point behind Ryan Mayfield, and in the case of a tiebreak, David has the fastest run in his back pocket.
So four-wheel would go down to A3.
The final leg of four-wheel drive will determine who the world champion will be.
And Ronefalk was in a really, really good spot for sure.
Would Ty manage to duplicate his only 10-scale IFMAR success, or would disappointment be his cruel mistress yet again?
His cruel mistress? Who writes this stuff?
Back in the second leg of two-wheel drive, Cavalier.
So now here we're in A2 of two-wheel.
The double jump section. Mayfield was not. At the start of this race, he managed to pass Mayfield, but just couldn't quite make it stick.
So Cavalier was giving Mayfield a little bit of a run. Cavalier was able to do the whole double-double section, whereas Mayfield couldn't because his car was just too heavy. And that was the one big difference in their driving lines, but Mayfield's car was easier to drive absolutely everywhere else on the track.
He just can't quite close in enough to make the pass.
So again, if Mayfield wins this leg, he's the two-wheel drive champ.
Down the hill they go to the crisscross. 2:35 to go.
Cavalieri makes a costly mistake that just might have handed the world championship to Mayfield. Behind this battle for the lead, Lee Martin found himself in the 6th spot.
Yeah, I'm just gutted because my car was really good. And
Yeah, Lee Martin, I was kind of hoping he would do a little better because he did qualify in the 2nd spot, if I remember correctly, but he just never really got it done in A2. I think in A3 he had a much better run, but you know, A2 is it was his chance.
90 seconds stand between Ryan and his first ever IFMAR title. Would his luck hold?
And yes, this would have been Mayfield's first title. And so here, for dramatic purposes, we hopped over to 4-wheel drive, and this is A3.
A pretty good start here.
Tessman quickly builds a small gap, but a crash in the triples hands the lead over to David.
So if David wins this A3, he's the world champ.
3 laps in, the order is unchanged. David's luck would not hold. He would drop out of the lead and would end up in the 6th spot. Ty would briefly hold on to the lead again. Just after landing the triple jump, it almost looks like Ryan gets...
So this is a little bit of a questionable... I'm not really sure why Ty pulled over, because that looked like it was a pretty innocuous bit of contact. I'm not 100% sure why he pulled over, but, you know, I'm not sure what it would have done to the points if he would have won this one. I suspect he might have come out in 2nd place overall, but regardless, he was in P3. Rivkin was out front. Mayfield was in P2. And I mean, Ty's car was good. Like his buggy was super good. So again, I'm not really sure if that contact warranted him pulling off like that.
Lap after lap, Ty is proving that his is the buggy to beat in this final race.
Yeah, look at how much corner speed Ty carries through here. Like it's just crazy how good that the XB4 was. But not good enough to get past Rivkin yet.
He sees the smallest of gaps between Rivkin's buggy and the pipe, but he cuts too sharp and ends up in the grass.
A little bit of a boo-boo.
Ty's slim title hopes are officially over. Spencer would hold on to take the win. With Mayfield finishing in the 2nd spot, he locks up the 4-wheel drive title.
So Mayfield is now the 4-wheel drive champ. He's got enough points to win that. And we're hopping over to 2-wheel to see if he holds on to that.
A2 was having a strong run here in A3. He would finish 2nd overall.
Gave it all I had. We had a really good race with me and Mayfield. The first few minutes, I just kind of turned in a little shy of the corner and had to turn around. I lost my momentum and a little bit of time, so I really didn't get back in the groove after that, and ended up a 2nd. So
I sucked then. But
and here's Lee Martin saying, "Oh, I sucked in A3 too."
Sure. So yeah, I didn't quite make 2nd. I drove like rubbish then, but I'm happy with 3rd.
He still finished 3rd overall, which is pretty good.
Ronald Falk would finish 2nd in 4-wheel drive.
I feel like I missed a little bit of experience when the track was changing. Didn't really know what to do with the car. Of course, I had the stuff that I wanted to try, but like in test skill, it's so precise and it's so intense that you really won't need to know exactly what you're doing out there. So I'm happy taking 2nd to 4-wheel drive. So yeah, I'm excited to keep going for here. I'm not gonna put my head down. I'm just gonna keep it straight up. Look forward to the next race, and
Falk's keeping his head straight
I'll
up.
be back next year at the Worlds in Australia, trying to defend my A-Skill title.
Ryan Mayfield, who wrapped up 2-wheel drive after hanging on in A2 and has just won 4-wheel drive in A3, now joins a very exclusive list of drivers who have doubled up at the Worlds.
So what's super funny is Ryan on practice day was saying this isn't a real Worlds, this isn't a real track. IFMAR needs to talk to us. Then he comes out and wins both titles. It's crazy.
The talent and the capabilities, and I've always had the support. And honestly, proudest moment before this was just watching Spencer win his, and now that we can share this, that's awesome. So.
No one is more surprised at winning both events here this week than Ryan.
Crossing the finish line, I didn't really know what the hell just happened. You know, it was just like, wow, this worked out. It worked out way too well. You know, I've had these things, you know, such stupid reasons, me not winning the Worlds, and today it seemed like everything just fell into place. This week, everything fell into place somehow. And I think it's just the team effort. You know, we worked really hard.
And the rain.
We all worked for the same goal. We were here to win, no matter who was driving the car, as long as the car won. And that's what happened.
Ryan's IFMAR drought.
Yeah, so Ryan went from no IFMAR titles to 2 IFMAR titles.
In Ryan's wake, a slew of disappointed drivers and teams.
Yeah, the extra guys are really bummed out because when the track was dry, they were really, really fast. But whenever that rain came, their car just dropped right off, or they weren't able to keep up with the setups. It was. I mean, I'm friends with Ty, so I was pretty bummed out that it happened to them. But you know, it's racing. When you race outdoors, you're always fighting the weather.
Yeah, it is what it is.
His car was way better than everybody else's in that last one, I think. He pushing him around in the infield. Just wasn't meant to be. Another world championship we didn't get. We'll come back for the next one, try to get the next one.
Ty and many of the other drivers won't have to wait long for another Worlds. Next year at this time, we will be in Kyle McBride's home country of Australia for the 8-scale Worlds.
No, overall it's been, you know, a pretty good experience. It's my second World, so I was happy to make the Tour Drive main. I was stoked with that. Pretty disappointed for the 4 World not making it in, but yeah, you know, I didn't have the best qualifying start, so that was kind of my fault. But yeah, I learned a lot, and it was pretty awesome driving on a big track for 10-scale cars. It was something different, but yeah, overall this place is pretty awesome. But personally, I'm keen to get back to some nitro.
In only 8 days, Ryan has joined 10 other drivers who have won 2 IFMAR titles. However, it seems unlikely that he or any other driver will ever match what Masami Hirasaka has accomplished in this sport.
14 times and 18 years consecutive world champion.
Yeah, so Masami has 14 IFMAR titles. Not all of them are off-road, obviously. I think he's only got 3 or 4 off-road, but 11 IFMAR titles. It's going to be a while before somebody matches that.
World Championship. On January 13th, 2018, Dallas, while visiting family in the UK, would pass away peacefully with his daughter by his side. You were an icon. You were respected. You will be missed. Rest in peace. While these Worlds didn't start off well for Ryan, they couldn't have possibly ended better for him. But not at any point was he in this alone.
My def is work like all week, and then I have good traction in my car, so I just take out my def to put on his car, and he win. So actually, my def is winning for the Worlds.
Even though the awards in the sport of RC,
yeah, Hara's awesome. But I just love the teamwork about this sport. You know, like we saw it at the top level with Hara. Here we see it at a lower level with some of the B Team Yokomo guys. It's really a team sport, and even with Ryan's program, it's not just him. It's a lot of R&D on Yokomo's side. You know, it was pretty cool to see all the teamwork at this event.
That's why racers from 24 countries were in Xiamen, China, to compete and to win, virtually at all costs. Sometimes the price to be paid is a heavy one. Ty and Gord have been away from home for over a month now.
It's been a long time, and it's going to feel nice to go home.
Go back home, think some stuff through.
Yeah, so the Testmans actually went to Slovakia, I think it was 2 weeks before the Worlds or 3 weeks before the Worlds to do a bunch of testing there. So I think they almost had a little bit of RC burnout by the time they got to the Worlds. But not much of an excuse, not making excuses for anyone, but it's tough being on the road for that long for sure.
It truly is a cyclical one. The cycle begins anew in a few short months.
So that is the Xiamen Worlds. Can't remember if I had any outtakes here. I'll just answer a few questions in the meantime. So yeah, Hobbyco went bankrupt, and I think along with them went Durango went with them, sort of, because it turned into Arma, if I recall. So that was one of the questions that came up in the thread. Yes, Amazkua is back. I don't know what brand he's running. I did see something on my Facebook. Here we got some outtakes. Leanne, she hates being filmed. Here's Gord.
Oops, sorry.
Not sure how he didn't see me. My camera's pretty big. This is Josh Payne. He's so awesome. This is at the closing ceremonies. He actually got up there and made a speech. It's pretty good. Let's watch it. Because everybody in the top 20 gets called up, and he finished in the 20th spot, and he made a speech. It's pretty good.
A lot of speeches, and I figured it was appropriate just to, thank everybody that's been involved my whole career, and thank all the competitors. I've gone through a lot. I've done a lot, as everybody has, and this week has been amazing. Today was especially very surprising to me, and I ran for a lot of a few great companies that have really made me who I am, and working with Yokomo has really been great. And we've done a lot together, obviously, and thank you, Jason Rona. He's not here, but he's been a big part. And everybody here are my peers, and I have a great time racing everybody. And I want to thank everybody for all the experiences and all the the great memories, and that's it. Thank you.
So that is the Xiamen Worlds. It's my old 5150 logo. I'm a huge Star Wars super nerd, so I made a little bit of animation there. So yeah, that was one of my favorite Come Drive With Us episodes. I really like the fact that I was able to cover Ryan as much as I was able to was great. Proline was an amazing sponsor for the series. Look forward to the series coming back in 21 or 22 whenever the border opens up, and there will be new sponsorship and new people that I'll be working with, or I'll just shoot it as a privateer and crowdsource it. I'm not really sure what we're doing with that, but the series will come back. And yes, the Icebreaker will be finished. It's taken some time. It has to be just right. And I'm actually also working on the Trenson Worlds video at the same time. So it's on the way. So let's see, any questions? So Connor Glover was asking about Brock Champlin. I have no idea what brand he's going to run. Actually, wasn't there an announcement? Oh, on the Nitro side, he's running the Nemo for Nemo Racing. So that's the Agama car, if I recall. But as far as 10 scale, I have no idea. But because he chose Nemo, that kind of limits it. It might be something like Mugen, maybe. I don't know, because he's not going to sign with X-Ray because they have a 10 scale program, or sorry, an 8 scale program. So I have no idea. I guess we'll find out on the 10 scale side. But yeah, it's a Gamma on the 8 scale side. Oh, and Schumacher. Okay, so Justin said it's Schumacher or Gamma. That makes sense. Yeah, I thought maybe X-Ray would try to grab him, but as soon as he signed with the Gamma, I knew that wasn't going to happen. Justin, you're welcome for the broadcast. I'm pretty far outside my comfort zone. It's the wrong side of the lens. I like being on the other side of the lens, not this side here. So yeah, let's see. I'm going to scroll way up. I think there's a couple questions I skipped. Bah. So yeah, it was a real, again, one of my favorite episodes. Ryan just cracks me up. He's complaining bitterly on practice day, and then cleans up on the Wednesday and the Saturday. But it was a really fun race. I still say that in 4-wheel it was Ty's race to lose because that car was amazing. Oh yeah, somebody just asked me if there was a Star Wars Easter egg. I can't remember. I wasn't paying attention. I honestly don't know if there was one in this one. 2018. So I was editing this. My dad actually passed away, and I was basically editing this the week after he died. I was finishing up the edit, and I had the audio recorded that week with Mike, and we actually had a significant screw up on the sound levels and stuff. But I was pretty preoccupied with my dad's death and some other stuff that was happening. And that's usually the time when I do the Easter egg, is right when the edit's done and I find the best spot for it. So I don't think there is an Easter egg in this video. Because like I said, I had a lot of other stuff going on with my dad passing. So I don't think I put one in, if I recall. But yeah, that's to answer the Star Wars Easter egg question. So I guess some useless come drive with us trivia. This is the only one without a Star Wars Easter egg. So Arrow is asking what program I use. I use Adobe Premiere, Adobe After Effects for the most part. That's basically it. And I do it all on a PC, much to the chagrin of other people in the industry. They always make fun of me about editing on a PC, but instead of a Mac, but that's what I do. I think earlier there was a question about an audio question came up. I just used the built-on mic, whatever my camera came with. That's what I use. And then for interviews, I use Sennheiser lav, like a wireless lav. And then for my narration, Mike uses an AKG mic of some kind. I don't know the model number, but if somebody's interested, just email me at Cory@5150grafx.ca, and I'll answer any of your technical questions that you have. Or just ping me on Facebook. Cory Drachenberg is my handle. Whatever. Just look me up. I'm there. Yes. Arrow just said, haha, I have Mac stuff. Yes, good for you. I have PC stuff. Yay. Well, thanks for joining, everyone. I don't know if I have any other tidbits. So there's only 2 more commentaries left. I have the Silver State Part 2, which took place in 2019? Or was it 18? No, it's 2018. Sorry, 2018. So I have Silver State 2, and then I have the IFMAR Worlds from Australia. Oh, I have 3 episodes left. Sorry, I have Silver State 2, the Australia Worlds, and then DNC 2. Some people have often asked, you should come do this race, or are you doing DNC again, or are you doing this race again? I don't do the same race twice. So the reason I did Silver State twice is because the first one was at RC Tracks Las Vegas, and then Joey Christensen took over the Silver State race, and he did it at a casino indoors. So it was wildly different. And the same was true with DNC. The first DNC I did was at Fear Farm. The second was in Paris, California. So I only do sequels if the venue changes. And no, I won't be doing the DNC in a couple weeks. The border isn't open to my liking, so I'm not going to be traveling to the U.S. for filming toy car races until some of this COVID stuff is a little bit more behind us. Hopefully soon. So yeah. That's got 3 left, and then I'll release the Icebreaker and the Transcend Worlds after that one at some point. So yeah, the live broadcasts are winding down. Somebody asked earlier if I'm going to have some guests. I was going to bring on a guest, but the only person I could think of is it was Mayfield, and I just don't know if he would want to sit here for an hour and a half and talk about it. In hindsight, I probably should have at least reached out to him, but meh, I'm pretty entertaining, aren't I? I'm a fun guy, right? Probably not. I don't like being on this side of the lens, but it's all good. Anyways, that's pretty much it. Unless something crazy comes up here. What are thoughts on Ty leaving OS and Proline? That's from Useless Films. So the Proline exodus was kind of a surprise to me to a degree. I think Adam was sort of the catalyst. I don't know if he was like the glue that held the team together per se. I don't know if that's an accurate statement, but I know Adam has some pretty negative history with Horizon, so I kind of knew that he would never re-sign with them. And with him and Ty being fairly close off the track, I just assumed that they would leave. I sort of thought they'd go to the same team though, and they didn't. I knew pretty early on that Ty was going to go to hot race, and I just kind of assumed that the Adam would go there as well, but he didn't. He surprised me and went JC. Not there's anything wrong at all with JC. They make some pretty amazing tires, but that one was sort of a surprise. But the other guys like Bornhorst and some of the other guys leaving, it was kind of a surprise too. So I guess my thoughts on Ty leaving Proline, it was not a surprise. OS was a big surprise. That was a huge surprise. But with Huddy having an in-house engine division, it just kind of makes sense that they would go to the FX engines. So that's to answer that question, leaving OS and Proline. Thoughts on Euro companies like X-Ray and Mugen? I run X-Ray. To me, the X-Ray buggy is the best kept secret in RC. It's from where I sit, it's the best buggy that there is. I'm not sponsored by X-Ray. I actually buy my kits through my store, so I'm as unbiased as it gets. So I really like the X-Ray stuff. The Mugen buggy is really, really good too. I would say it's probably my second place car. Sorry, Adam. So that's to answer the question about what I think of the European manufacturers. Well, just so we're clear, Mugen's actually Japanese manufacturer, not European. So why can't I come down? So I can come down, Oscar. It's just when I fly back, I have to get a negative PCR test, and I just don't believe in PCR testing. And I actually have a day job and a girlfriend I don't really want to be away from right now. So for me to be potentially stuck down in the US for racing toy cars or filming toy cars it's not worth it to me. So I'm going to wait until the land border is open before continuing filming in the US. Yeah, that's pretty much it. It's just I have to get a negative PCR test in the US before I can fly back, and I just don't trust the PCR testing. Let's see. Ty's been out for a bit. You can maybe just not go back. Okay, so Grader's kind of a dick. Maybe I should just ban you. You're slagging on a good friend of mine, so like grow up, dude. Let's see. Adam and Ryan both do Mugen and GC. Makes sense that they would go do the same thing. Yeah, you're right. Arrow, you're totally right. Adam and Ryan run on the same tires. It's pretty much it does make a lot of sense. Let's see, HB. Some guys just showing out HB. Yeah, they're great, awesome. Oh yeah, so D-Main RC is saying he would love me to cover on-road. I totally agree. I could never convince Proline to sponsor an on-road event because my co-producer Todd Matson just didn't think the on-road scene was exciting enough. He didn't think there was enough drama. I vehemently disagreed, but I always lost that battle, so we never ever did do an on-road race. I would absolutely love to do an on-road one. I think there's lots of cool stuff, especially 8-skill on-road. That is a hoot. So yeah, there's nothing else really exciting that I want to address in the chat. So next week or probably the week after, I'll be doing Silver State 2, which is it's another one of my all-time favorite videos. It was cool to be inside a casino in Vegas. That was the coolest thing ever. We all stayed at the casino. We just walked down to the track. It was an awesome event. I can't wait to show you guys that one, and that's going to be probably in 2 weeks. I don't think I'll do it next week. I think it'll be in 2 weeks. And then after that, IFMAR Worlds, and then after that, DNC2. And then hopefully Icebreaker will be done by then, and I can maybe do a director's commentary on Icebreaker. So that's kind of my schedule. Yeah, Aero Dogs, thanks for joining. Thanks for your feedback. Thanks for your comments. I like the positive comments. I don't like the negative ones. I get a little triggered. Anyways, that's pretty much it. So I hope you guys enjoyed this IFMAR Worlds, and I guess I'll catch you guys online. Peace out.